Welcome to the Rose Flame Podcast, where together we uncover divine mysteries and discover our divinity and humanity wrapped together as one. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Rose Flame Podcast number 15. Number 15. And I'm very excited. This wonderful, beautiful, unique woman in front of me, she's radiant, and she is coming into a whole new season. Well, we all are. And so I just want to introduce my sister and my friend, Mandy Lee. And we're just going to talk. We're just going to share. We're not being scripted here. I really feel almost like the spirit is taking a hold of the podcast in the way that the spirit wants the podcast to go. And that's what I'm all for. So, I just want to start by asking you, Mandy, maybe tell us whatever you feel you want to tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Angela, for having me on your podcast. And also, I love, love, love the name of this podcast. When I saw you launch this podcast and I saw the name, it resonated so deeply within me. I was like, yes, the Rose Flame, absolutely. It's so beautiful. And, I just wanted to say thank you for, first of all, launching this podcast, having the vision, and just being open-minded and open-hearted enough to launch it, because it can be really scary, when we get these visions and we receive these new opportunities in our spirit. It can be scary sometimes to launch out. So I'm super proud of you for doing that. And I'm just excited to be here. And I'm excited to just revelate with you today and just flow with you today and just come into alignment together today and see what's going to be revealed. But, a little bit about me. I have kind of a wild story, to say the least, Yeah, there's a lot of different episodes to my story, but just in a small nutshell, grew up super religious in good little Baptist girl type of environment, and was being groomed and raised to be like that good little Baptist wife for the good Baptist preacher man that would come into my life. And, that didn't sit well with me. So I kind of went on my own journey and ended up in some really weird places, ended up, in the commercial sex industry for 10 years, and then came back to God, and then went into ministry. And, that just went its own way, and then ended up becoming a wild mountain mama in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas. And that's what you see behind me is the Ozark Mountains. And yeah, that's just, in a small nutshell, a little bit about me. But I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. But yeah, that's just me in a very small nutshell.
Wow. That sounds like you really crunched down into a few words a whole lot of experiences and joy and pain and sorrow and all of the things that have brought you to where you are right now. If there was one word for where you are, yeah, yes, yeah. I sense that maybe you need to write a book. Like your own book?
Oh, girl.
Have you wrote your own book?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I have a lot of things in the works right now, and the book is one of them. I'm working on a book right now. It's called
Yeah.
Solo Hike: Finding the Way Home. So that's going to be coming
Mm.
out this year at some point in time. Yeah, I'm about halfway through the manuscript, and I'll be finishing that up hopefully this spring and getting that launched hopefully summer fallish type of time frame. So that's the plan right now.
Yes, yes, girl, because your story is needed. Our stories, they unlock other people and they give people permission to be themselves. So I look forward to that. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, that's
Thank
exciting.
you.
I
It is
wonder
exciting.
if you could sum up your, yeah, you're welcome. Yes, it is. It is, and it's an accomplishment. If you could sum up where you are right now in one word, could you do that? What would that word be? I don't know, it's burning in my spirit to ask you that.
One word. I would just say it's
Yes.
embodied. I am embodied.
Ooh, that's good. I love that. What does that
Yeah.
mean for you? I love that.
Well, for me, what it means is that, for so many years of my life, I was told what to believe and I was conditioned, through this community or that movement or this ministry, and I was kind of groomed up in ministry spaces all of my life, to believe certain things and to abide by certain rules and regulations, and I knew so much. Like I have known the Bible like the back of my hand my whole life because I was raised, to memorize it. And I just knew so much here, but a lot of it wasn't embodied, meaning that it wasn't being lived out through my actual experiences, right? Instead, it was a lot of head knowledge and some of it was heart knowledge. But when it came to actually, living things out in an authentic, embodied, vulnerable way, I wasn't actually there. I had a lot of head knowledge, I had a lot of heart experiences, but my lived experiences were manifesting in ways that were contrary to what I was actually thought I believed, right? And so I went through this process called deconstruction, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that, right? And what that means is it's like the painful process of just tearing down all of the things that we believe and putting them under the microscope and asking yourself, why do I actually believe this? And is this actually showing fruit and proof in my life, or is this just something that I say I believe, right? And so through that process I started to understand that a lot of what I thought I believed I didn't actually believe, and it wasn't actually being lived out in my life, and I wasn't actually embodying those beliefs. So I tore it down. And now I'm in the
Yeah.
process of reconstructing my beliefs, right? And living these embodied experiences where everything that I believe is literally being lived out in real time in my life. And one of those things is, that the presence of God lives in me, right? And like I live my life according to his presence being lived out from inside of me, right? And that expression of his presence gets to be experienced through my humanity, right? And like I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago and she's like, "So tell me, what are you up to these days?" I'm like, "Girl, I'm like, Jesus lives in me." And she was like, "Yeah, I know." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "He like lives in me." Like he lives out of me and through me. And it's like, it's been such a wild ride, experiencing the fullness of that presence, like where my hands are his hands and my feet are literally his feet and my words are literally his words. And it's just been really wild. So, embodied. That's what I would say. That's my word.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Does
And
that make sense?
when I think of him, it does. It's, you know what? It makes sense to you, Mandy. And that makes it
Hmm.
beautiful. It's beautiful. One thing about me is I love to hear what people have to say about their encounters with the spiritual realm, Jesus, God, all of what it is that they have encountered and experienced. And I refuse to discount that. It's beautiful. And in all reality, it really is beautiful. It's
Mm.
life changing for you. And by
Yeah.
you having these moments that are changing your life, you are bringing this presence and this embodiment everywhere you go. So I
Yes.
love to hear about it. I don't think you could share in a wrong way. I just don't,
Yeah.
I think that religion has told us that we can share wrong. Religion has told us that, it's got to fit in a certain, frame or language. But I give you permission to speak how you speak and to say what you feel and what you think and not just here. You know what I mean? Like everywhere. Because who you really are is beautiful,
It
amazing.
is.
And there's no one like you,
Absolutely.
Mandy. There's no one like
Yes.
you. No one. And the
Yeah.
world needs you, the real
Yeah.
you, the person that we are that maybe hides behind the corner. And I get it.
Mm.
I understand that. I think we're taught, and maybe especially as women, we're taught to hide in the
Yes.
corners. We're taught to just
Yes,
be
we are.
quiet. We're taught to just, be seen or whatever we're told. We're basically taught to shrink, not to
Yep.
shine too
Absolutely.
bright. You've got to be humble. You've got to be, and so for myself, this whole embodiment, it's a really big word for me as well. And it's
Yeah.
almost like I'm realizing how much my body, right? My literal physical body is the technology of God. And how, like the seven gates and just all of these different things in ways that the spirit can then use our body to empower us, to heal us, to grow us, like to expand us, to
Yes.
to expand our hearts and
Absolutely.
to expand our minds and to bring us into greater places really of the kingdom, which is what?
Amen.
Peace and joy and righteousness, and
Mm.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel
Amen.
like I fumble
Absolutely,
that.
girl. You're speaking my language here. You're speaking my
Yeah.
language. I mean, I'm picking up everything you're putting down here. And in fact, this is what I'm doing in this season on a professional level too, because I feel like in Christian
Mm.
circles especially, we've been taught to leave our body behind, right? So we've taken that phrase crucify the flesh so literally when it doesn't literally mean to crucify your physical body and leave your physical body in the dust, it or deny your physical body. It means to crucify the carnal mind of thinking, that you are not already in union with Christ and with God and with the divine, and that's what it's referring to. It has nothing to do with our physical bodies. Our physical bodies are the temple that this is where God lives, and we've been taught to clean up our thoughts. We've been taught to clean up our emotions. We've been taught to clean up our spiritual, beings, but we haven't been taught to clean up our bodies. And I feel like the journey has been kind of thwarted or condensed down to a point where our healing hasn't been pulled through all the way into our whole beings. So we have a bunch of partially healed people running around, and that's why the healings don't stick. That's why the work that they're doing only goes so far, and then they end up in bondage again. It's because they're only dealing with a part of their being. We are whole beings, and we have to deal with the whole being as a whole. And for me it's like that's what the fullness of Christ is that I'm experiencing in these days. It's like being unlocked in my body. Like I had this encounter in November, and the presence just kind of exploded within my body, and it just flooded my whole being, and it was that embodied experience, and it just keeps on growing, where I'm experiencing accelerated restoration, in ways that I never dreamed possible, and I mean, I know I'm not alone here, you know?
No, no. And I
Can
think
you
that
hear me
what you're
okay?
tapping into, what I can. Yeah. I can hear you okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what you're tapping into, what I hear or what I sense, I feel like what, maybe has been missing in the church or Christianity is the fact that our body stores everything. Our body stores our pain and trauma, the past. Our body
Yeah.
is born into, even at birth, generational trauma and wounds and things that are in our DNA that we now are being given the power and timing. It's almost like this is just the timing of where we are in the earth. It's just time for us to unlock our DNA. It's time for our DNA to be transfigured in literal sense. And when you think about this and you think, yeah. Woo, I felt that. When you think about Matthew 17, right? Matthew 17. And you think about Jesus being on the Mount of Transfiguration and gosh, he's so glorious and he's shining so bright. But there were lots of gut-wrenching moments in the life of Christ that some were kind of skated around, right? But many probably weren't written in the book. And it's like, for me, I've come to realize, the past quite a few years of this process of transfiguration in DNA reformation and releasing pain and trauma from my body. It's messy. It's really
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah.
It's weeping,
Yeah.
it's sobbing, it's, praying in the spirit. It's gut wrenching. I'm on the floor. There's piles of tears and snot. And yet I come up from that place every time with my light being a little brighter, right? With literally shining a little more, feeling a little more empowered, being a little more aware of the now moment, and it's just,
Yeah.
this is why I love these conversations. It's so real and
Mm.
it's just a reminder, right?
Yeah. And what
Just
you're
a
saying is
reminder.
so beautiful, Angela. And I love what you're saying. And, if I could frame this in just some language that maybe some of the viewers might understand, what you're referring to is what I've come to understand as shadow work, and it's like going into the depths of my own darkness and facing those shadows head on. And, we've been taught to exile these parts of ourselves in our journey as like a Christian or a believer or a Jesus follower, right? So in our psyche or in our being, we have all of these parts of ourselves that are fragmented, and then the door has been shut on them because we've been told to exile these parts of ourselves, deny that part of yourself, shut that part of yourself away, especially as women, right? And, especially for me, going through what I went through and being, in the commercial sex industry for 10 years, I had this wild expression of sexuality and, just being free with my body and just doing whatever I wanted to do. Now, it was a very distorted expression of my feminine energy during those years, right? And then when I came back to God in 2006, I came back into the Baptist church and I was shamed for my story. And as I was sharing my testimony, the pastor was like, we don't talk about those pieces of our story, and right there I was shamed and I exiled that part of myself and I shut the door on it. And I thought, okay, I cannot talk about my feminine sexual energy. That's bad. That's evil. We're going to shut the door on that. Okay. And so I exiled that part of myself. And then what began to happen is I started to go through these pendulum swings, right? Where these exiled parts of myself were so powerful that they could not be silenced. So they would swing out, and I would go on these massive pendulum shifts of my personality where I would literally become like a totally different person, right? And it was so wild. This was happening like back and forth and back and forth, this back and forth pendulum swing for so many years of my life. And then this last year, God took me on this integrative healing journey. And he said, we are not exiling these parts of yourself anymore. We are going to bring them into the light and we are going to learn how to integrate them into your being, and you're going to embrace them and you're not going to exile them anymore. these parts of myself spent time with Jesus and spent time in the purity of expression with Jesus. And now it's like I allow my feminine, sensual, sexual person to be expressed in a godly, pure, holy way. But and it's no longer distorted, it's in the light now, and it's integrated. And I've done this shadow work where I've shined the light on these exiled parts of myself. Instead of locking that part of myself away, I'm like, come on girl, let's come out and play, let's dance, let's be holistically holy, right? Not just
Yeah. Yeah,
the parts
that's
of
good.
yourself that Christianity approves of. No, your
Mm,
whole being is going to be purified. Your whole being is going to be reconciled. Your whole being is going to be brought into the light. We're not going to exile parts of
mm,
ourselves anymore. And so I feel like that shadow work is what I have been working through in this past year of my life, and God has brought people into my life to walk this journey with me very gently and very delicately, allowing me to express myself in healthy, safe places, right? So that we could shine the light
mm.
there instead of letting the distortion express itself. Now it gets to express itself in purity and in love and in safety. And it's just been a beautiful journey, you know?
Yeah. It reminds me that it's all about the journey, you know? And I think that
Yeah.
maybe we think that we have to do all these things, but really, when you're talking about integrating, it's simply loving those places. That maybe those places I used to be ashamed of, or maybe there's something that I'm still carrying that, I just need to love that space. And, I feel as though what I've came to realize, in my encounters, in my time with, the heavenly realm, is that sexual energy in general, yeah, has been something that has been tainted and distorted for
Mm.
centuries and centuries. So I think that part
Yes,
of,
ma'am.
my personal journey is like the divine feminine aspect of like Mary Magdalene, and so me as well, like these radical encounters with Jesus, and also the freedom of expression, and coming to realize that, wait a minute, maybe I never really needed fixing. Maybe I never really needed to come into all, like at the same time I need all this healing, at the same time all this trauma was in my body, at the same time all this stuff I had experienced that was the shadows. But in reality, all of that is already complete within me. And it's like the freedom that I feel like for me right now is being birthed in that. It's like I'm beginning to embody that wholeness. I'm not there. I know I'm whole, right? But it's like it's got to hit my heart as well. And it's got to be it's got to be embodied wholeness, instead of this idea that I feel like we've been fed is like, oh, you're dirty,
Mm.
you're tainted, you need
Yeah.
fixing. And it's like, it's almost like from that place of believing that from a young age, we're then going to go and act on it, because I'm just going to go here. What if a woman's sexual energy is the energy of creation? And this is something that I have begun to tap into. Hey, I said it.
Yeah. Girl, I'm
I
right
said
there
it
with
out
you. I've had Yes. But it's so true though, girl. And God has given me this revelation. It's like the energy that is created when we have sex. That's why they call it making love, because you're making the frequency of love, okay? And you're releasing it into the atmosphere, which is literally shifting the fabric of the atmosphere that you are inhabiting. That's why they call it
Yes.
making love, because we're making the energy, the
Mm,
frequency of the vibration of love in the atmosphere that we're inhabiting. And because it's so sacred, okay? And I'll tell you,
Yeah.
that's why the church felt like they had to control it, is because it is so powerful, right? And that, bringing this into perspective too, like, I feel like one of the things that I often just say is like, okay, God, what are you doing in the world right now? Because I want to partner with what you're already doing. I don't want to just do my own thing. I want to partner with what you're already doing. And God has been showing me he's healing the feminine and the masculine energies. He wants to heal them because we have been at such odds with one another, and it's playing out in the collective through the patriarchy and the matriarchy and all the feminism and all these things, and it's been so distorted, and it's been so skewed. And God wants to heal these energies, heal these relationships, right? And it starts at home with us, and we have to understand as the feminine, right, that we have something so sacred and so divine in that our sexual energy is that creative energy to literally create new worlds of existence. I believe it with all of my heart. And I
Oh,
mean, I'm probably,
yes.
people are going to, probably think I have 10 heads, and that's okay. I'm getting kind of used to that.
Yes.
People think,
Yes.
but
I
it's really true though,
understand.
and as we learn
Yeah.
to come together as man and woman and heal those energies and create together, like, we do have this feminine expression of creativity, but the divine design is that you come together with your masculine counterpart and you co-create together with God, right?
Yeah. 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 You mean on the inside of you? Like the
Yeah.
masculine and the feminine within us. Yes. Yeah. I
Yes,
feel like
within, but then
also
also
what I've
even,
been,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I feel like we have been, let me say that. I have been too focused all my life on that aspect of this idea that some man is going to complete my wholeness and
Mm,
bring me into some place. And I feel like for me personally, I've been kind of fed a fantasy, to be honest. And I
right.
don't think I'm alone. I think it's my generation, like the whole Cinderella, syndrome, and like, the Little Mermaid and like Beauty and the Beast. And like, however, I know that the place of union within me, when it's full, there will be absolutely a place of union if someone desires that, if someone desires that they would partner with, quote unquote the opposite sex, right? I think that
Right. Well, I think
I
that
think that's a
it's
subject that maybe
sovereignty,
right now God is exactly, and God's really revamping that for women right now, and maybe men as
Yeah.
well. But I feel like it's not like
Yeah.
the independent woman thing. It's more of
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
It's
I
a
bring
sovereign, the
everything to the
sovereign one.
table already. Yeah, I bring everything to the table already. So I need someone who's going to complement me and who's going to help
Yes,
me to catapult as I help them to catapult. Or I
absolutely.
don't need anyone at all,
Yeah, it's
and
two
come into that
sovereign
place.
people. It's two sovereign
Yeah,
people because the
exactly.
truth is that we all have masculine and feminine energies within us, and it is two people that have learned how to marry those energies within, along with the divine, right? And then the other person has done this, is on the same journey, so it's two sovereign people that have, you know come
Yeah.
into that inner union, and then they can stand strong together, and then God brings these people together to co-create these sovereign worlds, and I believe that. And this is probably going out into some esoterical fields that a lot of people won't understand or grasp, but the ones that have ears to hear will understand what we're saying,
Mhm.
and the message is not for everybody, because not everybody understands, because we have been sold this lie that we do need something external to complete us within. But
Yeah.
the truth is, we have everything inside of us already, within us, to be whole
Mhm.
and to be complete in union with divine nature within us. And then when there is another person that can meet us with that same level
Mm.
of inner union, and those two people can come together, man, that's when God says it is good. And I believe that's when a whole nother like layer of existence can be birthed through those people. And that's where, these
Mm.
safe places begin to be cultivated, and people then can come into these atmospheres and they can experience a realm of existence that is literally otherworldly. And I believe
Mm.
that we can have this independently, right? But we are more powerful together, men and women. I do believe that with all of my heart. I do believe that it is a divine design, and I believe that God is healing that in the earth. Is it necessary?
Yeah.
No. We could be strong independently, and we are strong independently. But God designed us to
Yes.
do things in relationship, right? And even the divine nature is a relationship, and as we grow in that understanding, I feel like we can come together in relationship even more powerfully, and we can create even greater realms of existence together in relationship, right? So, anyway, not to get all
Yeah.
esoterical on you two.
No, it's good. It's good. I love the sharing. I love, the perspective. What I have been being brought into is the energy of creation all on my own. And
Yeah.
this place of realizing that we've been shamed as women with our sexual energy, but it's actually I'm just going to say it, orgasm is creation. It
It is.
doesn't
It's
require
creative life force.
another being, although there is a whole nother dynamic to that, right? But I also think
It's
that's when it's like two sovereign people, right? Two sovereign people, but you have to be very aware of the partnership, right? So it's this like this
yes.
place of elevating and elevating and elevating. This is just how I feel. It's almost like, gosh, the divine feminine is a beast. She is a beast. And I'm just going to say it, for a lot of the collective, the divine masculine just maybe like quote unquote has some catching up to do, like,
Yeah.
not that partnership isn't beautiful, not that I feel like every human being craves it. I really feel that, like, deep down somewhere, nobody wants to spend their life alone without a best friend and a partner to create life with. But I also feel like, oh my goodness,
Right.
come on, masculine. Come on, rise up, men. And I think that patriarchy has done them an injustice. I really do. I don't,
It has, but
there's no blame,
it's
there's no
done men and
shame,
women an injustice. Absolutely.
exactly. And
Yep.
so here we are
Yep.
in this place of like, hey, what is really, and I feel like we're all just in this almost like a mess. It's like a messy place, but it's required. And there's healing here, and there's growth here, and there's introspection, and let's be real, right? And that's what I think the whole theme is. It's like, let's just be real. And if we can just be
Yeah.
real, well then we've beat half of the problems. I think the issue is when we try to show up as something we're not, or we try to be, something for this
Right.
other person or for the collective that we just aren't. And we do ourselves and everyone else this
Yeah.
injustice. And it's like, that is I just,
Yeah.
I don't even care what they can think. I have 12 heads and whatever, and that's the thing. I don't have to believe what I believed 5 years ago. I don't have to believe what I believed six
Right.
months ago. And I think part of me being
Yeah.
empowered personally is just saying what I feel and what I'm hearing and what I'm experiencing. And also that nobody else has to agree with that. And your perspective,
That's
Mandy,
right.
it lines up very similarly, but it's okay. You say what you want. You feel how you feel. And that's what makes us all so beautiful. And that's what the
Amen.
truth is. You are me, and I am you, and all these other human beings. We are one, and I feel
We
like
are.
that love. Yeah, there's so many expressions of that love, and I think a
Yes.
lot of it has been shamed. And that's not to say that we give
Absolutely.
ourselves away, but I feel as though a lot of the systems have profited off of some of the beliefs that I've carried in my past.
Mm.
Boy, this is just
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over the
I
place, and
totally
I love it.
understand.
Woo!
No, I totally understand what you're saying though. And I feel like it's okay if things are all over the place, because the truth is that sometimes it is messy in the
Yeah.
middle, and I feel like in a lot of ways I am kind of in the middle of like this huge transition, right? Like I am kind of being transfigured into a new level of existence, right? And I was in this really dense level of
Yeah.
existence where I was parroting what I was taught. I was conditioned in my belief systems, and I was just kind of, just another copycat or replica of just the product of society, and then I started to understand things for myself. I started to think for myself. I started to ask questions. I started to exercise critical thinking skills, right? And through that process, that caused me to deconstruct a lot of the beliefs that I was conditioned to believe and tear them down and say, you know what? I don't think I believe that anymore. Like, I don't believe that, I have to be married to have sex anymore. There, I said it. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that I can be free, and there is grace. And I'm sorry, but there is more grace for me to have sex with the wrong man than to marry the wrong man. Because I married the wrong man 3 times. And guess what? All 3 times I got married super, super quick because I believed I was living in sin to have sex with a man outside of the confines of marriage. And so, that's one of the belief structures that I tore down because it did not produce any fruit. In fact, it produced really, really bad fruit in my life. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in marriage. I do believe in marriage. I believe that it's a beautiful design, but I don't believe that it is the reason that I have to get married to have sex. I don't believe that anymore, and I believe that, that marriage is going to be something beautiful, and it is going to be something that I choose intentionally, not being forced into anymore because of being afraid that I'm going to be condemned and judged and, whatever, living in sin and separated from God, So it's more of an intentional belief choice now, and so I am in this messy
Yes.
middle where, I've torn down so many beliefs, and I'm in the reconstruction space now where I'm like, today I believe this, but you know what? Tomorrow I might not. And 6 months from now, I surely won't believe it. you know? So it is that messy middle, and I am reconstructing. And sometimes as we reconstruct things, we're like, you know what? I don't like that color on that wall. I don't like that picture over there. I'm going to tear that down and I'm going to make it something different because I just don't like it, and it's not fitting. It doesn't fit, and there's freedom for this messy middle. And I feel like there's so much grace in this space because I have embraced the grace message fully and wholeheartedly in this season of my life where I no longer believe that God is judging me and condemning me and shaming me for literally being human, because he created me to be human, and it is his design to show up in my humanity. Like, that's the way that he designed it. He could have designed himself to show up in a shark. He could have designed himself to show up in a giraffe. He could have designed himself to show up anywhere. But no, he designed himself to show up in humanity. Okay, so why am I going to throw my humanity out the window? I'm not. I'm going to live as a full expression of my humanity and allow God to do what only God can do, right? And let me just be human, and he
Yeah.
just covers me. I love that verse in the book of Psalms, chapter 103, that says, he knows that we are just dust. And it's like, he knows. He's already factored in all of the
Yeah.
times that I'm going to mess up. He's already factored in all the times where I'm not going to make the best choices. He's already factored in the times where I was going to fall down flat on my face. He already knew it, and he knows. He knows I'm just dust. And this, at the same time, he looks at us like a father pities his child, right? And it's like, I just come to him like, oh, daddy, I fell down again. And he's like, oh, come here, baby, let me clean up those knees, let me clean up those elbows, let me wipe off your tears. It's okay, honey, you're just learning how to walk, you're just learning how to run. It's okay, baby, it's okay. And like, that mothering nature of God just gathers me in her arms and just holds me close and just, lets me know that I love you and I am proud of you, and I want you to keep on walking and running and learning and growing, and I don't condemn you or shame you, and your humanity is okay with me. And I made you the way that I made you on purpose, for a purpose, and it brings me such joy to see you living your life out loud. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm just kind of living out loud, and I'm not putting myself in boxes anymore. Like, there's no legalism to my life at all anymore. Like, if I want to go out and have drinks with my friends, I'm going to go out and have drinks with my friends. If I want to go out dancing, I'm going to go out dancing. If I want to be human in any way, I'm going to be human, and I'm just going to express myself, the wild, full expression of my humanity. And I'm going to just let
Yeah.
the grace of Jesus do what the grace of Jesus was meant to do, which was cover up or fill in where I am not God. I'm not God, Like, God is God, and he's in me, but at the same time, it's because of that divine nature within me that I can even, live this life. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm going down a rabbit trail now.
Yes. No, it's beautiful because you are speaking in real terms what you're experiencing. And what I see is others who will see this and be set free in ways, because ultimately we're here to experience life. And this is one thing that I've really been shown, we're here to experience life. It's not to destroy our bodies or to, harm ourselves and all of that. But we are here to experience life. And if, whatever that looks like for each one of us, it could be completely different. But we are not
Yes.
here to fit in this little box and be told what we should do, be told what's acceptable, be told what's right or wrong. And I feel like specifically women have been placed in this box, in certain ways, and then men have been placed in other boxes in other ways. And so I just feel
Yep.
like it's almost like humanity is being liberated. Humanity is just being liberated from all of these old structures and belief systems, and almost like being delivered out of Egypt. But what it looks like, if you're still in a religious perspective, is that, we've lost our way. When the truth is we're living out our humanity, made
People,
in the image
people
of
are saying that
God.
to me all the time. They're
And
like, she's lost her ever loving mind. That woman has lost her ever loving.
yeah,
And I'm like, nope,
but
I've
you're
actually
really just
found my
living in
mind.
love. You're
And
living
the
in
truth is,
love. You're choosing
yes, and
love.
I am absolutely. And it's partnering with that dynamic force within me of love and just intentionally choosing that every single day. You're absolutely right. For sure.
Yeah, God is
100%.
love. I think we forget
Yeah,
that. Yeah, people forget
we
it. It's
do.
just, I forget it. Gosh, our experiences take us through places that are so, hard sometimes, and it's so easy to forget the basis of what we really are, which is simply the expression
Mm,
of love in the earth, you know. And first,
yeah.
I think that we have to get to know who we are. And I was sharing with you before we started this, like I feel like I'm getting to know myself again. And this happens
Yeah.
kind of quite often in my walk. It's like I'm getting to know myself again. What do I like? Who am I in this season? What do I want? What do I not want? But ultimately loving myself through it all, because if I can't really love myself, I'm not going to be
Mm,
able to love others the way that I'm intended to love them, which is as myself. And I feel
yeah.
like I keep embodying that love deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think that that's ultimately what I hear happening to you as well, which is just
Absolutely.
really beautiful.
100%. I concur wholeheartedly. And that revelation of loving myself has changed everything for me because I no longer am searching for it outside of myself. Because at the end of the day, I look in the mirror and I sing these love songs to myself. Like there's this song that I have always kind of like it brought up bad memories, like hurtful memories, because it reminded me of somebody that made a promise to me that didn't keep it. And it was that song "Stand by Me," and now I sing that song to myself, like, girl, I will stand by you, I will stand by you. Okay, I will not abandon you. No matter if the mountains might fall and the sun might go dark, I will stand by you, girl. I will stand by you. And I will not abandon myself anymore for anything or anybody. And I have to make sure that whatever I'm participating in these days is authentic to myself and loving to myself. Because the truth is, that I am my first ministry. If I cannot minister to myself and be an authentic expression of love and joy and peace and embody that frequency for myself, then I can't give it away to anybody else. And I can't minister anything to anybody else unless I'm having it for myself first. It's an overflow of who you are, right? And I remember when God had me step away from ministry, a couple of years ago, and it was like, God told me, you are your ministry in this season. You are your ministry. Minister to yourself right now. And I had to learn to love myself, stand by myself, and not abandon myself anymore in the name of love or pursuit of life or happiness or anything else. And I had to be authentic and true to me. And learning that lesson has been the game changer for me. And I know that even religion calls us to abandon ourselves and to die to ourselves and all these things. And I feel like we've kind of missed the mark there and we've kind of misunderstood what that actually means. And I feel like coming to a new understanding, of what that actually means, and understanding what it doesn't mean has actually reframed so many of the things that kept me bound for so many years, and
Mm,
understanding that, it is our thinking and our consciousness that we're being called to deny and crucify and let go of. It's that old consciousness, that old level of shame consciousness and separation consciousness. It's the illusion of that separation, that we're separated from God, from each other, from ourselves, and reframing that to know that I have never, ever, ever been apart from God, ever. no matter how dark it was or how broken I was or how ugly it looked, God was still totally in me and I was still totally in him. You know?
That's good. That's so good. I feel
Amen.
like everything we've shared and all of the conversation that we've had, we can wrap it up in that phrase. It makes me a little
Mm.
emotional, honestly,
Yeah.
because we've been lied to. And we have been all, the whole world, even non believers. We've been shamed into thinking that we are separate, that we are dirty, that we are broken. And the truth is that the divine creator is on the inside of us. And
Mm.
I think that
Yeah.
we're always learning what that looks like for this day, for this moment of our lives. But giving ourselves grace to be in that space, even if we're not okay, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. You're not separate. And I feel like, just listening to you and knowing you and watching your journey and always cheering you on. And it's just such a blessing. It's just such a blessing. As you were
Mm.
speaking, I could see the freedom even in you speaking that you were receiving. And I feel like, whenever we have these moments, we're receiving so much, in the spirit for one another and for ourselves. And I feel like I'm definitely going to want to have you on here again, if you so would.
And I want to
And
have you
also, is
on
there
my show
anything that
too.
you would like? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there anything you want to
For sure.
share, like what you're doing right now, or is there anything else, yeah, that you want to share?
Well, I am doing a lot right now, and everything's new that I'm doing right now. God, I was building a lot of ministry platforms in the past. And like, quite frankly, girl, it was all about me. It was about my image. It was about my success. It was about, you know, what people were going to look at me and oh, look at her, look at what she's doing. And I was building according to other people's models and it was not authentic. And
Mm.
God told me tear it all down, tear it all down, and I did. And now what I'm doing is literally just an overflow of who I am. It is so authentic, it is so aligned with just me. I'm just being me out here. You know what I'm saying? And it's so much fun. I do have a coaching program that I'm running right now, and it's all about the body. It's all about what we've been talking about today, which is releasing that trapped trauma, that tension, that stored memory in our DNA. And it's about letting that go and releasing that through somatic breath and body work and just becoming aware of your physical body and connecting to your physical body. And that program is called Align and Flow, and I just launched it. So I have, a handful of case studies that I'm working through right now and just really fleshing out this program. It's been so much fun and just, I feel so alive just doing this program. And then I also have a YouTube show that I've recently launched myself called Reborn to Be Wild. And it's all about my spiritual awakening that God took me through over this last year and how he literally reawakened me and rebirthed me to be a wild expression of his heart in this world and just to be a wild, alive human being and not be put in any religious box, but to dance if I want to dance, to speak if I want to speak, to, write if I want to write, to do whatever I want to do, and just to know that God trusts me as his daughter to do, you know, to just be
Mm.
alive. And everything is covered by grace, and there's no check boxes anymore, there's no religious rhetoric anymore, there's no dogma anymore. It's just I am free to be me, and that is the bottom line. That's like, if I could sum it all up with one phrase, it's like I am free to be me, and God loves me for it, and there is grace for my humanity. And that's just where I'm at in my life right now. And everything I'm doing is an authentic expression of that. Everything on a professional level is in line with my personal, everything's in alignment. And there is such a divine acceleration on everything I'm doing, such a flow, and it just feels so alive. I just feel so alive, and I'm writing a book
Woo!
too. So, woo! I know.
Awesome.
And I
Yeah.
recently came out
Yeah.
with an ebook that I would love to leave with you for your viewers. It's a free PDF that they can download.
Yeah.
Um, it is called 8 Keys to Ignite Your Wild Feminine Resilience. 8 Keys to Ignite Your Wild Feminine Resilience. And it's all
Okay.
about
That's
my
awesome.
journey through this wild spiritual awakening that God took me through over this last year. So I'll give you that link. You can leave it with your viewers and they can download it if they'd like. It's a free ebook, and
Yes.
it can hopefully lead them into their own wild awakening.
Uh-oh, you're getting dangerous, girl. So yeah, I will leave your YouTube I will leave your YouTube link in the video. So, and I'll pin it up there. And then absolutely give me everything you have because people need what you're pouring out. And I just want to
Yeah.
thank you so much for being you, for coming on, for sharing, for being vulnerable. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you. I love you. You're precious.
I love you
You
too.
bring my
Thank you for
heart
having
joy.
me. And I know, girl. Every time we get together, it's like I feel so much. It's like so much fun. It's like two little girls like running around like in circles, in
Exactly.
the spiritual realm. And I know Daddy is so proud of us, right? Abba
Yeah,
and Mama, and I
absolutely.
believe that the divine family is so proud of us when we're just expressing ourselves uniquely like this. So you keep shining too, sister. I
Yes.
see you out there, and you have my support wholeheartedly. And
Mm,
we've been
thank you.
sisters for a while now, and I feel like we've been running parallel journeys for so long. And I feel like the way that the Father expresses himself through us individually is so beautiful, but also there's so many similarities, in the message that I hear you releasing. And it lights my heart on fire, and it lets me feel
Yeah.
comforted to know that I'm not the
Mm,
only one that's hearing some of these deeper things and
mm,
engaging some of these higher truths, and being brave enough to share and to be that outpouring, because we are the outpouring. We're not waiting for something to pour upon us. We're waiting for something to, no, we are being called to pour it out from within us. We're not waiting for it to be poured
You're
upon
Yeah.
us. It's already within, and
Yeah.
we have to let it burst out, right? So I love you for doing that, and just for being wild and free out there yourself. And this podcast is amazing. Just keep going, sister. And I know that God is
Yes,
gonna do
ma'am.
beautiful things in and through you, and he's already been. So thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. And I'll talk to you soon. And to everyone
All right,
else, I hope
sister.
you enjoyed this. This has been a treasure for my heart. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you for joining us today in discovering divine mysteries. If you'd like to connect or partner with us, please email theroseflamesophia@gmail.com. See you next time.